I mean, if he didn't kill the children, I want him to say so. And let them prove it.
Chris Watts might have pleaded guilty to all 9 counts against him last week in a Colorado courtroom, but his family says there are still unanswered questions about the case.
I want the truth. I do want the truth to come out. I don't want this to happen to anyone else. You know, he was normal. He was a normal kid, and I don't know what happened.
Shanann's family responded to the Watts family interview today, insisting they made, quote, vicious, grotesque, and utterly false statements about Shanann. Watts' family said they believe the version of events laid out in the initial affidavit, that the only reason their son killed Shanann was because he had seen her strangling their children.
What happened to that kid from Pine Forest High School?
What happened to that kid from Pine Forest High School? He met Shanann. That's what happened to him, because that boy, he knew what he wanted to do. He went to NASCAR Technical Institute. It has been a nightmare.
Wow.
A complete nightmare. It has been so overwhelming, and I feel like I have to do something to help my son, I need to do something. If he's not going to fight, I want to fight for him.
This is before he pleaded guilty.
The Watts family told me they felt Shanann was dangerous. They didn't even go to the couple's wedding. In fact, they believed that Chris knew he was going to get life in prison for killing his wife and disposing of the girl's body. So this is why he confessed to all 9 counts. Shanann's family said, quote, her memory and reputation deserves to be protected, and her family is fully prepared to do so.
The Watts family told you that there is a letter, and they say that supports their position.
Yeah, there is a letter that they say the defense has. He said in it, he wrote, if anything happens to me, look at my wife. And apparently Chris's sister put that away somewhere, and it supports the case about their contention that Shanann was...
Okay, guys, I'm going to stop this right here, okay?
No more details than that.
Because this right here clearly was premeditated, right? And we're all going to find out the truth on the 7th. But I'm going to stop that because of this stupid letter that I keep hearing about. He is a murderer. Look what he did to his family. You think he's not going to give a letter like that to his sister, Jamie, to put up and put away? Because that's what was his plan. Which, if that letter did exist, that tells me that he premeditated Shanann's murder. He's going to come on the 7th, and he's going to speak that, and he's going to say that, but he's going to also say that Bella witnessed it. I guarantee you this is what's going to happen. It's what's going to go down. This is exactly what he's going to say. And the reason why I am saying this is because of him saying, if anything happens to me. So what he was trying to do is just get rid of Shanann, then keep the girls, or get rid of all of them and just say, oh, she did it all. She just took them all. Like, this is the type of shit that really irks me off, and sorry for my language. But this is before he went to sentencing, okay? Next video, I'm showing you the actual defense attorney for the Watts when the judge accepted them as part of the victim's rights, which there's a lot of how that works and how it goes. Usually, no prosecutors or anybody will speak to anybody in a criminal case that's under investigation or that is, you know, going through something like that, a trial, a murder, something like that. They will not speak to anybody unless the judge says, yes, they are a victim. Accept them under the Victims Act. Therefore, that's only when prosecution is technically allowed to go to them. Because keep in mind, this was just Chris Watts' family. He's the murderer. So to the state, they're looking at his family didn't deserve anything right now. We don't have to tell them anything. So this is why they were acting like that. But when the judge said, wait a minute, they're the grandparents. We got to take a step back here. They are victims too, even though they're in denial. That's clear denial. We have to accept that they are victims and give them the victim's right. Now what happens is the state pays for prosecution to go out and say to these people, here's the facts, okay? Here's the evidence. Your son did this. This is why he's pleading what he's pleading. Okay? They showed it to him. Then what happens is they say, how do we give you a public defender to speak for you? If you're unable to speak, we will give you a public defender and the state will pay for this. Guys, this is how it works. I'm telling you how it works, okay? I know this. So the state paid for that attorney that I'm going to show you coming up. State pays for her to come out and speak on behalf of them. Now, if they weren't able to say their statements like Roni couldn't, the state paid public defender for the Watts would actually speak for them, which she did in Roni's case. Now, keep in mind, prosecution and DA, they're all on Shanann's mom and dad's side, Sandy and Frank and Frankie, because they are the true victims here. That was their daughter, okay? So, notice when the upcoming interview I'm going to show you guys again, Cindy, I kept saying, by her body language, her demeanor, she wasn't under the acceptance still. Even when they showed her all the facts, she was in denial. Now, they know that their son did this. They know because they were shown that proof. And guys, if I'm coming across a certain way, it's because I have a lot of passion when it comes to this. When it comes to victims, my passion comes out and I cannot help it. It just comes out. So I want to apologize if I'm coming off as being mean, cruel, anything like that. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to show you and tell you how this works. Okay? Now, I'm going to show you this video. Keep in mind, this probably happened maybe 2 to 3 days before Chris's actual sentencing. The parents were told, the evidence shown the facts. This is what your son did. Shut Cindy Watts up really quick. Now she wanted to read a letter because she knew, I'm sorry, son. Which I have absolutely no respect for. Because even though if you did not like your daughter-in-law, you give her enough respect because she carried your granddaughters in her belly. You still give a person enough respect. Especially someone that's lost their lives. So the interview that I just showed you right here is before the actual sentencing. Now, I'm going to show you in a second the attorney. But I'm going to show you another interview that they have done. So give this all a second, okay? Watts, however, has told investigators more about his heinous crimes. The Colorado Bureau of Investigations, the CBI, has announced, ABC News reported on Thursday afternoon, that Watts provided investigators with additional information about the murders of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste during a visit from investigators on February the 18th. Watts is incarcerated at the Dodge Correctional Institution in Waupun, hope I said that right, Wisconsin. Right there. All right, right here. The Colorado husband and father who was convicted of murdering his pregnant wife and their young daughters in horrific fashion has provided more details to authorities about the murders. Let's read that one more time. The Colorado husband and father who was convicted of murdering his pregnant wife and their young daughters in horrific fashion has provided more details to authorities about the murders. Details that will likely come out on March the 7th. Nothing Chris Watts does from now until his death will enable him to taste freedom again. Just like I was already explaining to everybody that thought, oh, Chris can do something and get out of it. He could do this and that. No, guys. That's not how it works. It's not how the court system works. I'm not going to get into all of that. But he pleaded guilty. He got sentenced to life in prison without parole. He will never, ever get out. Okay? That'll never happen. Never. It doesn't happen like that. Okay? Nothing Chris Watts does from now until his death will enable him to taste freedom again. In November 2018, Watts was sentenced to 3 lifetimes in prison without the possibility of parole for the murders of his wife, Shanann, and daughters Bella, 4, and Celeste, 3. Watts was sentenced to an additional 12 years for each of those 3 counts of tampering with bodies, plus 48 years for ending his wife's pregnancy. Their unborn son was to be named Nico. Now, in a text, Shanann had spelled his name Niko. I also honor that by always spelling it Niko. She told her friend what she was going to name him, and she spelled it Niko, guys. So I'm going to honor what Shanann wrote, and that's what she wanted. Other people can spell it how they want, but I will continue to spell it Niko. God rest their beautiful souls. So let's go on to another thing. Now you go on to District Attorney Michael speaking and stuff, but let's go to, "You don't deserve to be called a man," said Shanann's brother, Frankie. Prosecutors agreed not to pursue the death penalty. Listen to that again for everyone that leaves comments that, says the plea of guilty does not mean that he didn't do it. When you plead guilty, you're pleading to doing it, okay? That's how it works. There's other pleas you can take. He took a plea deal for his life, but he pled guilty. You can do different kinds of pleas, okay? You can plead guilty, you can plead not guilty, you can plead no contest. You don't deserve to be called a man. Prosecutors agreed not to pursue the death penalty. Watts' parents thanked the Rusicks on Monday for asking the state to do so. Sandy said that it wasn't her place to call for an execution. "I know God will put the evil people where they need to be," she said. Cindy and Roni Watts' change of tones comes after suggesting that their son might have been pushed into a plea agreement. Okay, here we go with the denial. Again. Cindy and Roni Watts' change of tones comes after suggesting that their son might have been pushed into a plea agreement. The defendant's mother tried to get in touch with the judge and even said in a media interview that Shanann was more capable of murdering Bella and Celeste. That tone changed on Monday, and in their joint statement, they said they were mistaken. Right here, guys. Black and white. Alright, so anything that came after that is called denial. Anybody that's seen any of the Watts on YouTube, media, anything after this sentencing, what it's called is denial. Okay? Because we don't want to believe this. We can have someone show us all the evidence in the world that supports this. But we're still going to be in denial because as parents, oh my God, we can't believe this could even be possible. You can't even believe because you're also in a state of mourning the loss of your loved one. So you're in that denial. There's 5 stages of grief. And I'm not going to get into all that. But there's 5 stages of grief. Just like the denial part. So in these types of cases, there is what you call denial. You are shown every bit of evidence and proof that this person did this. And you've come to accept it because you're going, oh my God, you just showed me literally what he did. But then, subconsciously, his brain kicks in and they go back to denial. and saying, no, Chris is easily persuaded. People can easily manipulate him. Oh, no. No, the manipulator here is Chris, and Chris alone. Okay, so let's go back to something else. Hey guys, really quick, I want to just point this area out here to you guys. You want to read it? This was right after the sentencing. They acknowledged they were previously misled about the case and now accept that their son had done this. Okay? The couple said that prosecutors gave them more answers and they changed their mind about the case. Well, they were shown something pretty damaging to change their denial mind, right? There is nothing that can be done to cure the harm that he has caused, the Watts said. Let's read that again. They acknowledged, see this? They acknowledged they were previously misled, of course, about the case and now accept that their son had done this. But then, why is it they went back and started going back into denial again? Well, because of rumors. Rumors are few, and no parent wants to accept the fact that their son is a monster. I mean, God, no one can tell me this isn't a monster. What he did to his pregnant wife and children is a monster. See this? Cindy said that Chris's actions irreparably broke their and Shanann's family. We are forced to question everything, Father Roni said in his statement. Keep in mind, guys, this is 2 to 3 days before the actual sentencing, okay? So, if they came out with more stuff after sentencing and everyone's giving me comments that they're saying, oh no, they don't believe their son did it. They talk to Chris every night and, well, guess what? Chris doesn't have enough respect to even tell his father the truth. He's got to allow FBI, CBI, and the actual investigator in the case go and tell him what really happened. The how and the why, okay? We are forced to question everything. Nonetheless, both parents said they still loved him and forgave him for what he did. Only God can forgive, guys. The judge sentenced Chris Watts to multiple life sentences, which we all know all of this, okay? Now, on to more stuff.
Thank you for the opportunity and the recognition under the Victim Bill of Rights. We come today as the grandparents and the parent of the daughter and children whose life was taken in this case. We are not here to ask for leniency. We are not in any way condoning or tolerating the crime that has occurred and the pain that has been caused. We join in our daughter-in-law and grandchildren's family in saying this should never have happened. This is not condonable. This is something that we will never get over. We appreciate the consideration that everyone has paid, most especially the families that have lost everyone. We appreciate that they begged for Christopher's life. We agree and echo what they have said, that it is not his place to take anyone's life, nor would it be our place as a community to take his life. So we thank you for the opportunity and for every consideration and effort that's been put out. The prosecution in this case has in fact respected the Victim Bill of Rights. They took the time to explain that the information that my clients had at the time that they were interviewed was not correct. They were misinformed. They were searching for answers. They were not intending to cause any pain to anyone. and they appreciate that the prosecution answered their questions and gave them the time and the respect and the consideration so that they could tell this court and everyone in this community that the interview content was not their message, that they accept that their son has done this, that they accept that he chose to plead guilty, that he sought and requested their consent and agreement for a life sentence. They appreciate that he is given the opportunity to serve that life sentence. It is his responsibility, it is his sentence, and it is not enough to make up for what has done. We understand and we join the family in that we have questions. We don't know how such a thing could possibly happen, or that a man that was responsible for raising his children and protecting his wife would take the steps that he did, and that he would disregard their bodies and the love that he had for them and they had for him and everyone else, and take the gestures and put this community through the investigation and the discovery and the responsibility of bringing justice. We do not understand that. We do not think it was appropriate. We cannot begin to think that an explanation will ever justify it. My clients indicate that they understand that a full opportunity for a confession with all of the responsibility and accountability has not occurred. And they support the family and the request that that happen, if not today, at an appropriate time, in an appropriate manner, so that everyone can have peace, to understand to the best of their ability the details that they need and to have their questions answered. And by giving this opportunity of a life sentence, we hope that he embraces that moment. That had the death penalty been pursued, there would not have been an opportunity to be accountable and to give a full confession. And had the death penalty been sought, counsel would have fought for his life, the prosecutors would have been engaged in a multiple-year battle, the families would have been torn apart, this community would have had to subsidize it and endure it, and we have so much respect and gratefulness that that did not happen. We would strongly encourage Christopher Watts to give that full confession in the tone and in the timing that he thinks is appropriate with the guidance of his counsel. We feel that it would be appropriate and helpful to ease the pain and the suffering. But we also say we don't think that there's anything that he can say that will ever account for his behavior. There's nothing that can be done to cure the harm he has caused. And he has the responsibility to serve his sentence with dignity and with regard for everyone, and to spend